Lisa Frankenstein is directed by Zelda Williams and stars Katherine Newton as the titular character. A coming-of-age love story about a teenager and her crush who happens to be a corpse. After a set of horrific circumstances bring him back to life, the two embark on a journey to find love, happiness, and a few missing body parts. Now, Zelda Williams is known for directing another film back in the day called Jennifer's Body, and that starred Megan Fox. I never watched that film. I heard a lot of interesting things about it, but I never really had a chance to check it out. And so this is my first time watching any of her films. And from watching this movie, I got a strong sense that this is harkening back to a lot of Tim Burton films, mainly Frankenweenie and Edward Scissorhands in the way the story is presented. It is very reminiscent to that. We are in a pretty normal neighborhood with a few creepy settings here and there with a bit of a dark past. The people in the neighborhood and the town are very lively and very versatile in their characteristics. And Lisa Frankenstein is like ostracized out in a way to be the oddball of the entire neighborhood, and I think in ways feels a bit too familiar to that story. I mean, we got a very creepy undead guy who you could describe as like the Edward Scissorhands, except not being the main protagonist. And Lisa Frankenstein, very much also in the way her character is designed and acted, is like she is playing a Winona Ryder character in a Tim Burton film. It's just that there's something about the film that on paper I would love. I love the whole creepy aesthetic and dark humor that this movie has, and I think the humor works pretty well for the most part. I just think the film at times feels like it is unoriginal. It doesn't have a voice. Even watching some clips of Jennifer's Body, I could tell that that movie is just being a Zelda Williams film. And while I could tell that she wants to harken back with this film to a lot of those Tim Burton films, it just for the most part comes across as it's trying to be a carbon copy of that, trying to tell that exact same story. The characters for the most part are fun to watch. The actors do a really good job. Katherine Newton plays Lisa Frankenstein very well. She has a dark, depressive energy with her character. And the zombie guy, who she's crushing over a little bit, also having a crush with this hot guy at school, I think forms a nice love triangle for her character, for her to develop, and have her understand where she should be placed in her life, where she wants to be with him, with the strange, or with the normal people of the world, which in ways she doesn't like because they treat her like shit. I think that gives a lot of intrigue with the story and where this character should go, but it just comes across as predictable, and that high school crush character isn't really like the best character ever. He just feels very standard, pretty boyish type. And the sister character of Lisa is probably my favorite, as she seems to be the actual one good person in Lisa's life. Usually a sister character would either be that or just be a complete jerk. I like that she is nice here. I think it works very well for the story, considering that we already have a mean character, the mother character, and it creates a nice little foil between the family and how they're all basically playing a tug of war with Lisa as to how she should be treated in the household. But overall, characterization here is nothing to write home about. It is pretty standard for what this film is going for, and it doesn't need to be well written. As long as the movie is fun and has a lot of entertaining moments with its characters, it's cool to have things be simple here, and it doesn't need to overcomplicate a story or try to be very nuanced or so deeply written with themes. It could just be a fun little story. I think for the most part the film achieves that. especially in the way the production design is utilized here, as well as the lighting and effects. This is a very creative film visually. I like the visual aesthetic it's going for, but again, at times it does feel too reminiscent to a Tim Burton film. Also in terms of tone and what the visuals are trying to be like. So I am like a mix between this film, because on one hand, it's like, as I said, on paper, really good. It's something that's for me. But then again, it feels way too much like it's trying to be a Tim Burton film, to the point where you could tell all these things of a Tim Burton movie is there, but it doesn't feel like it has that same finesse or energy that even some of the worst Tim Burton films have. You could tell that they're his movies, whereas this one, at times it felt like it's trying to emulate that, but failing in that regard. I also am not a big fan of the music here. I found it very forgettable, to the point where I don't even remember a single tune after watching it. Maybe a few songs and a piano number. Other than that, the musical element of this film is pretty lacking in that regard. All in all, I found this film to be a very mixed bag. I didn't find it to be all that engaging. It felt like it was trying to be a carbon copy of any Tim Burton film like Edward Scissorhands or Corpse Bride. It just didn't really feel all that original, especially with this story. Visually, production design, effects wise, and some of the characterization with the family and how that's explored, I found engaging. There are some good performances here, but all in all, this is a film that I pretty much didn't care for by the time it ended. So with that said, I'm going to give Lisa Frankenstein a C. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.